Oh. Wow.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi. Wowzers. I can't believe it. How are you today?
Good to
Good to
see
see
you.
you. Good to see you.
Hi, Sandy.
Jim,
How you
hi.
doing?
Good, good. Congratulations on yet another award.
Hi, Sandy.
Hey, good seeing you, Doug. Yeah.
Hi, Jim.
Wow, good to
Nice
see
to meet
this. I am
Thanks.
really,
Hey,
really
Doug.
happy to see this.
Thanks
Really
for
happy.
ordering the Lightning.
Oh,
Wanted to
ooh,
give you
thank
the keys.
Good. I'll cherish them and make sure that nobody else gets them. Actually, that's not true. There's a big long list.
Yeah, and Sandy, this is a conquest purchase
Yeah.
because 17 years ago we bought a Ram. And
Oh, okay.
and we had a Ram work truck for
Yeah.
Munro Associates.
I mean, we're kind of in Ram territory here in Auburn Hills.
I know.
Yeah.
But with the push to electrification, Sandy's like, we have to get an EV. We can't be driving around in a diesel, although
Right.
it was all right. So this is destined to,
Right.
a long life of service for Munro Associates.
And
for our work
actually,
truck.
yeah, I'm only talking from a construction standpoint, a work truck standpoint.
Sure.
This is fabulous. This is brilliant. I don't know, how did you market for this? Who did you talk to? How did you find out what features and functions you needed to have in this thing?
Well, we talked to truck customers for
These
sure.
are our people.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
are.
These are
This
our
is
people.
what you get when you got lots of experience with trucks.
Well, I'll tell you, I think this is going to be a dazzler. I'm positive that that this is going to be huge. But I'm just telling you right now, this is the working man's truck.
Yep.
This is it. Hey, boys and girls, welcome to Munro Live, and this is a very, very exciting day for us. We've received our F-150 Lightning from Ford Motor Company. It's sitting right over there. And we're also at this juncture showing you that we've been working on this car for a little bit now. So what I'd like to do first is, you all know Cory, but I'd like to introduce Linda Zhang, Jim Farley, and Doug Field. We're really, really humbled to have them here, and I'm really, really excited to have them talk a little bit about what they've been doing and how they've been doing it with the new Lightning product. We're very, very excited, but we're very happy to have you here.
Great.
We're very
Good to be here.
excited with this. And Cory, why don't you kick it off, and then I'll...
Yeah, so my first question is for Linda.
Oh.
So the frunk, it's class leading. So there must have been some tough decisions when you're developing the trunk to get the size, the width of the rails. Can you explain a little bit about any trials and tribulations there?
Yeah, I definitely can. I mean, so if you think about truck customers, having dry lockable storage is traditionally a major pain point. So when we came out with the F-150 Lightning, this whole concept of not having an engine in the front really opened up this opportunity for dry lockable storage up front. And when we started thinking about this, almost 4 years ago, there was no other really competition from a truck perspective. So you couldn't really think of it in terms of, well, how big do we want to make this? It was more, how big could we make this? And what can we do with this space? And we actually went out to customers and talked to them about what would you do if you had a space like this, really giving that element of electricity into the front so that people can basically draw up on their electricity while they're on the road onto the next construction site, or using it for hot pots. So I think there was a lot of those type of things that came out of it, as well as commercial uses as well, of being able to have a flat surface for people to roll out their drawings and work, and just an outdoor space for them to work as well.
Yeah, I know it's really a great feature, and sometimes Sandy and I are disappointed when we open the hood of some competitor vehicles and there's just nothing, no frunk at all. So it's nice that Ford's putting the customer first, because it takes a lot of thought and engineering. So that's really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, actually, we just found out that that Volkswagen has 153 days of vehicles sitting around.
Yep.
How many days? I mean, that's like a half a year, by the way I look at it. And but you guys don't seem to have any problem.
Yeah, we have no inventory.
Just the ones that are on the way to the customers.
Basically, this Maverick is maybe a day or two, where they sit there waiting for the customer to come in, because it could come in on Wednesday and they aren't free to pick it up until Saturday. So the only dwell time for our vehicles on the lot is just for the customer to come in, take delivery of the vehicle.
Yeah, that's what we've heard from talking to some of the dealership owners and whatnot.
Yeah,
they say they just can't get the
It's totally
the
out of
cars.
control.
Yeah, yeah. So what are you going to do to? Cause
Well, I mean, we didn't know. Linda said it best. We didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know. Just a few years ago, the team idea for capacitizing the F-150 Lightning was, just tens of thousands of vehicles. And we felt really strongly that was really undercalling the opportunity. So, we started with, I think, 40, then we went to 80. Now we're breaking one side of the whole building down to expand the final assembly space so we can get to 150. But we have really big plans in the space. We're such a leader, and we know the customers so well, and we feel like there are multiple ways to serve them.
Yeah.
And so we're obviously building a factory in Tennessee that we're really excited about, and so there's a lot of opportunity for us. But I think we're going to have to be patient here, and every day we're going to have to try to beat the production plan.
Well, the tipping point that some people talk about, 5%, has been hit. And the projections from the different guys that are supposed to know what they're talking about are telling us that 25% of the people that have been canvassed about their next buy is electric. This has got to be something that's got to be exciting and terrifying both at the same time. How do you move fast enough in order to keep up with what I think is going to be the biggest rush for a different type of vehicle since the Toyota invasion in the 70s?
Well, the difficulty is that we didn't really understand, in the case of Lightning, how attractive the non-EV propulsion parts of the vehicle are going to be. The frunk, the power, pro power on board, those kind of things have really propelled the vehicle into like a different space. So the propulsion system is one thing, but what we're learning is if we can hack the vehicle for other value, like a new electric architecture where we can ship software to the car, and the other features, the reasoning for the customers to switch changes from just a rational propulsion. And you drive this vehicle. I had Jay Leno and others, and they're like, I'm not a truck person, but this is just a better truck. For some people it is. If you're towing 10,000 pounds, maybe not, but maybe, depends on the range you want. So I think we think that we should challenge ourselves to not look at these products as just a propulsion change. We have to really challenge ourselves to deliver a product that surprises in many other areas, especially the software we ship to the vehicle. And when we do that, I think then the reasoning is, why wouldn't I? For a lot of customers, it's faster, more reliable, less expensive to fix. Yes, it has all the reasoning behind an electric vehicle, but I got lockable storage and people don't have to look at it through the windows. I got a huge interior space. I have power that's usable. Look at what's happening in Texas right now. A lot of people are going to have power outages. This vehicle solves that for a lot of people. So anyways, I think the burden is kind of on us to break through on the product side. We'll see what the customers do. We can scale.
Well, we usually call what you've got in your vehicle bewitching quality, quality that amazes and delights. It doesn't have anything to do with J.D. Power or something like that. It's the ability to razzle-dazzle the customer when they get in and find out, oh, I've got my own desk. Oh, I've got power galore. Oh, the lights go on and I can illuminate the workspace, on and on and on.
At night, yep.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff is. But I was wondering, and I don't know how to ask this, but what was the biggest challenge in bringing this product to market? And I mean, like, from the first conversations all the way to first customer ship. What were the biggest challenges? Who or what got in the way, or how did you
I think
get
Linda
around?
could do the best in terms of the core engineering and what it took to land this and scale it. I would say the biggest challenge for our Team Edison when we formed it 4 years ago was credibility within the company. We had people who weren't sure that an electric F-150 would work, and if it did, if it was less profitable, why would we want to sell a lot of them? And we had a lot of skepticism about the range. I think the first range estimate we did was like 100 miles. And that was with the old carryover frame, and we weren't problem solving. It was just like, oh, it would be 100 miles. It'd be like a Focus Electric. Why? But Darren and Ted and the team Linda, they were very problem solving oriented. We knew how big and important this was for the company, the opportunity. There were a couple of outspoken people outside the company who said, you need to electrify F-150. Buses were going at that point. There was no competitive reference. The Cybertruck was nowhere to be found. There was no market data that would say, go do this. So there was naturally people going, really? And I think then once we started to get excited about the implementation on paper, like the stuff that Linda was just talking about, that's when we knew this is worth it. And we didn't have a lot of resistance. I don't know, Linda, what's your view?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the skepticism was definitely something that we had to overcome. And part of what we did to really overcome that is just demonstrate with prototyping that this vehicle was something completely different. It can do all of the things that current trucks can do, and feel comfortable that it can do all of that. Whether it's towing, whether it's, and that's partly why we did that train tow demonstration a while back, is really to show that it can do that. But in addition, just like Jim was saying, it's all about what can we give the customer in terms of more that they're not expecting, that they didn't even know that they needed, but now that they see it, they're like, I have to have it, right? Whether it's this pain point of the Mega Power Frunk, or the fact that you can back up electricity when you've got storms or rolling blackouts, all of those things. I mean, even on my way here, my kids said, wait, you're taking the truck. What's going to happen? There's a storm coming, and I need to play Xbox if our power goes out. So, so the truck's become almost like a family member of my house now, where it's so critical. If the truck's not there, what are we going to do without the electricity?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've told Linda that this truck is part of why I came to Ford. It was a really great recruiter. And watching it from the outside, seeing Ford launch it was, okay, that's really smart. Like, if you want to go after electrification, you better go here. This is the best-selling vehicle in North America. But then there were a couple things that just started to bend my mind a little bit. So the frunk really changes the entire product.
Yes, it does.
I mean, the frunk is the same size, very close to the same size as the best-selling sedan's trunk in the country. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, this is a different product. Because I have the trunk of a car and I still have my bed. And then the same thing with the bidirectional charging. I was like, great. And you start thinking about it differently. Okay, it's my generator. And it's not just that it has lights on the outside, but you can leave them on for like days and days, and it's fine. So it's this mobile energy source. And then Ford chose to put its best infotainment system into it. So it could have said, this is just a truck. It's just a truck.
That was a big deal to upgrade the display technology in the HMI. That was a big deal.
It may have been a big deal, but it was probably the best decision, or one of the best decisions. Like, I look at the frunk here, and I think about the trunk of a car, and I'm telling you, it's a whole lot easier to get stuff into this F-150 than it is or the Lightning, than it is to get anything in and out of any trunk that I've ever had the occasion to use. So to me, I mean, so much, like I say, the bewitching quality stuff, we were just really, really impressed with that, really impressed. So that's all the how do we get going kind of stuff, the beginning of the vehicle. But what about the technology that you needed to come up with in order to crank this product out? What kind of issues did you have there?
I mean, from a technical perspective, I think we had a really great team that delivered a lot of what we needed. At one point in the program, we did have to resize the motor, and I think that was probably the biggest technical issue that we ran into. And this was just to make sure that from a towing and more of a durability and longevity perspective, that we weren't going to run into issues. So we actually, at that point, we felt that it was so important, right, to make sure that from an F-150 brand perspective that this truck does whatever gas trucks can do, that we ended up actually redesigning that element quite a bit to make sure that we can tow even better than we can.
You got some pretty good acceleration out of the process too.
We sure did. There are other good benefits that came out of it, but it was as you guys have probably seen from the teardown, that chassis system is very, very well packaged, right?
Yeah.
In terms of a lot of things in there, and every little bit of space is being used. So therefore, that made it even more difficult to move things around and resize everything at a certain point. But I think the team did what was right for the product and for the customer.
Well, one of the things that we've been getting, actually it's the first time I'm going to mention it, but there's a push by many of the people who already own EVs. Not necessarily Teslas, but other EVs. And they're trying to get the standard moved from what we have now, the SAE standard, to the Tesla charging port. Have you guys ever entertained that or thought about it or what have you? Because I mean, the Tesla charging port is so much smaller, and it doesn't have multiple whatevers. And it's ready to go. The charging ports, based on what we know, we're working with companies that make chargers. The charger for the Tesla is a lot cheaper, and it doesn't have fade. Like if you plug in over here, you get one number, doom, doom, doom. This guy over here is basically at the end of the road, and the charging goes down like a rock, which doesn't seem to happen too much with the Tesla stuff. Have you guys thought about that at all, or is that anything that's been discussed?
We think about everything.
I knew it.
But one of the biggest priorities we're focusing on right now is charging. And I think we take the responsibility for good charging experiences really heavily. I tell the team, it's not just that you gave a bad experience about Ford, you gave a bad experience about EVs, and that's a really big deal. So we have a very high gain on charging experience, and we're working really hard to figure out all the things we can do in public charging to make it better, and we'll consider everything, including that.
How about considering making your own chargers? Have you thought about that, Ford chargers? Getting into that
Absolutely.
business. I mean, you can sell razors, but then you can also sell razor blades. And getting a little piece of that action, I mean.
So we do home chargers already.
Yeah.
And in the commercial space, we're starting to do heavier duty equipment.
So depot charging is kind of like the supercharger network, 15 years ago. All these small businesses want to go electric. They have to install this very expensive equipment, and we have a finance company, so we can finance it for them. And we wanted to have an all-in solution, even for non-Ford vehicles, because we believe most of those fleets are multi-make. They won't be just Ford. And we think that relationship and that experience, as Doug said, is really important for our commercial customers. The retail side's kind of way down the road now. Personally, it's probably the biggest lesson I've learned on the first cycle product is how much work we have to do on charging. You know, we just have a lot of work to do to live up to the customer's experience that we're targeting.
Well, we've experienced I've experienced what it's like to try and charge an ID4, and we did a video on it, and I got pretty upset. I mean, Electrify America is VW,
Right.
and I couldn't make it charge its own vehicle. So, so that was a big deal. But here, we put in our own chargers. That's one of the things, if you happen to be a Munro person and
Right.
you've got an electric vehicle, we've got 6 charging stations right outside, actually right outside that wall. And it's our way of encouraging people to get into the EV world before things really start to change. I don't want to get too far into it, but I have this thing like Moore's Law, you know, everything's doubling technology-wise every year. I think that's what's going to happen with EV acceptance. It's going to double every year. So 5% this year, 10% the year after that, 20% until we get to, where do you think the crossover point is? Do you?
It seems to be going much faster than all of us forecasted. China's now above 20%.
Yeah.
Europe is 2%, and it jumped. I mean, it's gone so much faster than people think. So much faster than the charging experience. So much faster than the purchase price. So much faster than you would have predicted. So it seems like, you know, it's not a linear curve so far. But we think, you know, we're not going to enter every segment. We're going to be really careful which segments we go into. And some of the usage base is unique in some of those segments. So, you know, even if the adoption goes really fast, we have to be thoughtful about, you know, which use cases it works for and which use cases are more challenged.
Well, you've got one vehicle that's under 20 grand, you know, if you buy it bare bones, but that's a hybrid. I was wondering, where's the $25,000 EV in the future? That's.
I'll let you answer that one, Doug.
There you go. Oh, wow.
I came to Ford with the excitement that this could be how electric gets into a much broader population than early adopters. And that along with the electric propulsion, it was going to be about software. So the good news is software doesn't add a lot of cost to a car. So you can make a $25,000 car to be a really great experience if you're paying attention to the digital. The challenge is in the cost of the propulsion system, of course, but things are changing fast. We want to be in that space. We have some very aggressive goals.
Well, actually, the other thing that I was thinking too was Henry Ford won the world by producing a car that everybody could afford. So it seems to, I mean, you've got a history. You have to kind of like follow that same path, I would guess, in order to.
I mean, strategically, what's happening in China and the way that the EV digital products are coming to life, which price point, and that being the biggest market in the world, and now you see them exporting to Netherlands and Norway. You know, it's just a matter of time before we have to face the music that in the end of the day, our fitness is going to be, you know, at all different price points. It can't be just a $100,000 vehicle. That's not where the fitness is going to be as a company. So strategically, you know, we're not going to get into details, but this is really important for our global competitiveness.
Yeah, well, I lived through the 70s. I watched GM go from about 60% market share to almost nothing. And Toyota, who had 0, move up. And the reason for that was the car that people wanted was being produced by foreigners, and it was really well accepted. So I'm glad to hear that you're going to be looking at not just part of the market, but the whole market. Yeah.
On the ICE side, you know, we always convinced ourselves that we could compete in the sedan and the hatchback market. We had a very strong business in Europe. You know, we ultimately had really wholesale struggles there. It turns out that what wound up being successful for Ford in the ICE world is to use that unibody expertise, but go into the pickup truck business with Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what I'm saying is we always need to do things our way, like segments or executions where we know the customer well. So we can do all that innovation work and know it's going to land with the customer.
Well, to be quite frank, I think that, well, you're in second place right now, right behind Tesla, I should say.
Yeah.
And like the little chart up there, 6.2% of the market share for EVs anyways belongs to you.
Well, we have
That's a big
95%
number.
of the electric vans.
Yes, you do. Yes, I do know that. And I only looked at the big numbers, and it's amazing. Number 2 on the hit parade is Hyundai, and I can tell you those guys. You know, we work with lots of different companies, and that's got to be one of the most aggressive. It's just like an army. When you point them in that direction, they're on the way, and that's that. And I know that for sure because my daughter, Heejin, is from Korea, and just ask my son; he'll tell you she's in charge. So there you are. But I'm really
So impressive with what they've
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
So impressive.
yeah.
And not just the number of models, but the execution, the excellence in the
Yeah,
execution.
yeah. But I also know a whole lot about the Chinese, and that's where, like, there's you've probably seen the curve, connect the dots, the valley of death. I had one of those, but I didn't have the same data that they had, so I don't show mine. But that's the thing that scares me the most. When the United States decides to turn, I mean, look at any war we've ever been in. When that thing moves, when the needle moves in a new direction, every American wants their stuff. Like right now, we don't have a. Well, let's think about it. It's like somebody flipped a switch. There's no dimmer. It's just on or off. So that's the thing that I'm the most concerned about. Is that what keeps you awake at night? So.
Well, I mean, I'll ask Lynn and Doug to speak from their own perspective. For me, the most important thing is to set up the company so we have the scaling capacity to 2 million in the next 4 years. Now it's less than 4 years, 3.5 years. 2 million is a really aggressive number for us because we only last year we made 4 million, 4.5, constrained by chips. Normal year, 6 million, let's say. That's a third in 3.5 years. That is a heck of a scaling. That we have 60 assembly plants in the world. Just think about what changes just the assembly side will go through. And that's not, so I think the pressure I like to put on myself, frankly, is that we have a lineup of products once we get the capacity secured to do that. Like, they're good enough that in total and they're attractive enough that there is plenty of customers to get us on that path. And we have learned from the first cycle products that it is not a given that if you make an electric vehicle for the United States, it's going to sell. It's not a given. So that burden is on us to have the raw materials, the battery capacity, all the capital allocation for the engineering, all of that stuff lined up to get to 2 million units, and then go back to the basics and nail the product and the software and the electrical architectures and the semi-autonomous features. Get all that done so that 2 million is not a problem from a demand standpoint. I don't know, you think we're missing anything?
The only thing I would recommend is vertical integration. I'm a big fan. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're going to have a lot of union folks that you're going to have to take care of. Somewhere along the line, Either they're going to get a buyout or they're going to get something, and you got a whole lot of plants. Maybe it's the time to start thinking about how does Ford get back into businesses that they used to be good at, and get rid of some of the offshoring, make it onshoring. I mean, we know for sure that the guys that are in first place are definitely not going to get caught with another chip shortage. They've decided that that's a technology that they have, even though it's I don't know what the right word would be, but definitely low tech. They still want to get in that. You're getting into batteries.
Doug, maybe you want to talk about the vertical integration journey.
Yeah.
Because that is a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think given how fast and how many things that we have to work on, the key is to pick them strategically. Where, when we vertically integrate, can we either give something that's a lot better to the customer, or where can we make sure that we can do the scale? So the reason batteries are at the top of that list, obviously, are we can't get electric vehicles to everyone unless we can get deep into that supply chain. Getting into drive units to really deliver the experience that people want in an EV. But maybe the most important vertical integration right now you can't see, which is software. There is such a thing as a software factory, right?
Yeah.
And the traditional auto industry has taken their software as part of hardware and transplanted into the vehicle. So one of my biggest focuses on vertical integration is really the software factory and getting that up and running for Ford.
And that is really big deal. Linda, how about for you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really around the capacity increase and keeping that energy on to make sure that we do that with quality and that we continue to deliver really great trucks to the customer and more of them.
And that requires a lot of hard work with the supply base. Like
Absolutely.
It's down each part and, to get from where we are to 150 and get from there to, the next step next year and the year after and the year after. It's just
That's right.
absolutely gruesome hard work. I think maybe one thing we didn't touch on that you just said that I think is quite important. Ford's decision to the team's decision to make sure this was built Ford tough, like it would do everything. It's like it almost sounds like a PR line, right, but it wound up being one of the most important decisions we made. To be able to run through all our durability testing, do all of our tow testing, we have 100 years of experience that most of our competitors don't have. And that decision was not a small one.
No, and internally, a lot of what you'll hear from the team is when we did a lot of the work for this truck, it was all about earning that shield, right? That built Ford Tough shield that slams down. We talked about how this truck needed to earn that shield because that's the brand of the vehicle, and that's what we needed to make sure we kept up.
Well, certainly for us, there's no question about it. We don't need to see the durability tests. We know what we've torn to pieces so far, and it's plenty tough. No question about that. Yeah.
And I think the shift to an aluminum body, what was that, about a half a decade ago, was brilliant because now weight being so important in an EV, already having that established experience with the aluminum body must help.
Absolutely.
So how was that, when you're weighing, no pun intended, weighing your decisions to get that final weight, already having the aluminum body?
Yeah, definitely. Having that aluminum body is really a big deal for EVs, right? Weight in general is a big deal for EVs. And as you know, our team works on that religiously. Between last year and this year, we actually dropped, 285 pounds because that's really what you're seeing in the payload increase, right? When we're able to do that, we're able to give the customer more with whether it's another, another passenger, right, in some cases, or two, or just more payload. I think that all comes together and helps with the overall efficiency of everything else that we were trying to do with the vehicle.
Well, we kind of touched on the software thing. The one deal that a lot of people are, myself included, are getting kind of anxious to see is an ADAS system that'll get us to level 4. Have you got any projections on that? Oh, everybody's looking at you again, Doug. I don't
This is what we work on.
Yeah.
You're poking on all the stuff that we work on every day.
Yeah, Jim and I were talking about this morning. I think in some ways, the world focuses on the electrification piece of this, but the industry is really being turned upside down, and the product's being turned upside down by software-centric product that the car's becoming, autonomy and electrification. So autonomy is really important. Giving people time back is like the ultimate feature. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Jim likes to talk about the sticker he had on his Prius.
Yeah, when I was working at Toyota and I quit to go to Ford, I sold my Prius. I lived in Santa Monica and I could get a fancier car. I was running a Lexus actually, and everyone made fun of me driving a Prius, but you know, I had the HOV sticker. And it saved me maybe 5 minutes a day on the 405 to get home from Torrance to Santa Monica. And I was shocked. I didn't even know this. When I traded in my car, I actually had bought it from Toyota. My Prius was worth $5,000 more than a Prius without the sticker. And I was like, really? And he said, yep, no, it's a trade-in. We'll give you $5,000 more because you have the HOV sticker and it's good for another year or so. And I said, all of them are worth $5,000? Yep. So that's the cost that people are willing to pay for 5 minutes a day? Yeah. And what if we give people 45 minutes a day? Exactly. Holy smokes. Exactly. Talk about, you know, the killer software that we can ship to a car and unlock value for customers and create a lot of value for the company. The light bulb went off.
Well, I say all the time that you can't buy a second back, not 1 second for billions of dollars.
Right.
I mean, time is the only commodity that can't be purchased.
Exactly.
But if you have something where you can say you're in this truck and it can drive itself, and you've got the ability to write invoices if you happen to be in construction
Bingo.
or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, that's a big deal.
It is.
Yep.
Typing them up and sending them off. Cash flow, cash is king, period, but cash flow for a small company is everything. That's why I'm saying 1 million, maybe more of those things is going to be needed like really quickly, because once guys catch on, it doesn't take an entrepreneur or somebody who owns their own business, it doesn't take them long to figure out, hey, you know what? This is going to be worth its weight in gold. And that's kind of like where I'm coming from when I look at this.
Yeah, I mean, we have two very distinct efforts. So we partner very closely with Argo. I think you know that. And that's investing in a world where cars don't have steering wheels. Yeah. Completely different use cases emerge. People can travel who can't drive. Commercial use cases where the economics completely change. But internally, we also have a really big focus on L3. We think that's a huge opportunity. It requires deep technology, including what people are working on in L4, but it has to be made accessible. But you don't have to solve the whole problem and get the steering wheel out of the car in order to give people back a ton of time.
Yeah.
You just have to do it right, and you have to make the experience right, make the transitions right, and we're really serious about that.
So I have we were just talking here a second ago, and let me rephrase that. We were talking prior to you guys coming on board. I was talking with one of the guys, and we were talking about one of the things that Elon Musk said, and he said that there's only 2 car companies in North America that never went bankrupt: Tesla and Ford Motor Company. I don't know. To me, maybe I'm optimistic, but that sounds like an open invitation to let's get together. Have you guys ever thought about getting closer with Tesla, or is that a...
I'm going to leave that one to you.
There are always possibilities with a great company like Tesla. But frankly, there were too much. The reality is we've shrunk the company in a way down to the essence of what we do really well around the globe. And now we have a chance to build it and grow it around those same core expertise, like Linda was saying about the Lightning. Like, we knew how to innovate for those customers. We knew the job sites. We knew how important the frunk was. She knew who to talk to when we were doing human-centered design work. So, I think right now, we're a wildly independent company. I mean, what I mean by that is we are really proudly dissimilar to others. We were really proud of not going bankrupt. Nothing gave us more pride than pulling our own bootstraps up, burning the furniture, and doing what we needed to do to make it through that. Just like we have with wars and depressions and all the other stuff we've been through in 119 years. So the ethos of the company is wildly independent. We don't want to be like other people. And Tesla's the established leader.
Another question, maybe I hope this isn't like a bad question, but who do you see as being your chief competitor in the China? Like, China is going to bring stuff over. I mean, we're in a situation where...
I mean, generally speaking, it's so far it seems to be the South Korean and the Chinese. Are the major.
Well, I mean, which
players.
Car companies?
Pretty tough to handicap at this point. Kia, Hyundai are doing a great job. We really like and admire everything they're doing. Obviously, Tesla's fantastic. And there's a whole host of companies in China that are hard to handicap at this point. BYD and Geely and XPeng and NIO and others that are smaller that people haven't heard about yet, that are regional players there that are outstanding engineering and outstanding technology. The issue about China is that their technology for the consumer is decoupled from the West. The companies, facial recognition, e-payments, their system is completely different than the technology platforms in the West. Mm-hmm. And so it's a bit hard to handicap. Will it be the large technology companies that win in their digital ecosystem with autonomy and UX and AI in the car? Or is it going to be the next cycle of Chinese technology companies that people don't see yet? And what will the role be of the OEMs in China? Mm. Will they be contract manufacturing? Will they be a total brand like NIO is? It's tough to handicap right now. I think it's too early to say who it's going to be, but we know where it's coming. CATL now has 30, talk to Rob like you do, 31% of global automotive batteries. As we sit right here, 31%, one company.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's staggering. Yeah.
That is, wow, 31%.
Yeah, and speaking of batteries, what's your position on LFP, the lithium iron phosphate? What are you thinking about there? Because I mean, they're cheaper. They don't give you the same kick. They don't have the same. They have the same amount of energy, but they don't have the same much of power. So where's Ford with that?
We think that chemistry is really important for several reasons. One is affordability. Another is material availability. It gets you out of dependence on things like nickel.
Right.
So we think it's important just for supply. And the battery does have different characteristics. Most significantly, your charge-discharge cycle life. And for some of our customers, particularly like in the commercial space, that's actually a big deal. And is something that some customers would even trade off with range.
Well, that's where I was thinking that the $25,000 vehicle. I don't see any other way of making that happen in today's market anyway, without LFP being the power source. So.
Yeah. And we're investing in what's next that has similar characteristics in terms of the independence on the materials, the low cost. and it won't be LFP forever, but I think there's an important place for an alternative chemistry than the one that's going to give you always the very longest range.
Yeah. Well, anyways, what I'd like to do is thank you all for dropping off the truck, and also for giving us an hour of your time. This is like probably the most expensive hour that's ever been happened here at Munro Associates. I mean, it's really, really humbling for us to have the three of you here, and I just really, really like to thank you. And then tomorrow, congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Yet another well-deserved honor.
You know, Sandy, I have to say, it's like no baloney. You have done so much for our industry. You have opened so many eyes at Ford and across our industry. You have helped all of us get healthier. Your team is terrific. And is it comfortable? No. But it's completely critical for sufficiency and success, is to have someone like you and your team who is the arbiter of what really is happening. So I just want to say that because I know all of us at Ford feel that. It's a tribe that we're looking at, this transition. And there's some people who stuck their head above the parapet and said, this is not right. This could be better. And that's super important for us as leaders in our industry. And I think you deserve all the credit you get, or more.
That's why we're here.
Wow.
That's why we're here.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it doesn't take. Okay, so anyway, thanks for watching Munro Live. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Cory, for also being here with me. Thank you all to the guys here at Munro Associates who quietly worked while we were getting our jobs done, I'm flustered. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, thanks so much. I really appreciate you all, and as Cory would say, please subscribe. Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
So this is a table of implements required to take the top off?
No, you're missing out.
Like
There's
torture table.
no.
Yeah,
Some failed attempts too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we
from your
rep
videos,
things.
you guys were.
Oh, it's yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There
that's
should
what
be a
they
big
said in
key
the
to like in the old days for starting.
So when was the first video you guys saw of Sandy?
The Model 3.
I mean, I've watched his stuff before.
The first one that was memorable to you?
The first one that was probably memorable to me was, well, I mean, he's done a lot before this, but the first one that was really memorable to me was probably the interview with Elon,
Oh, okay.
and just how casual the whole discussion went.
How about you, Doug?
It was when he reviewed the first Model 3,
Model 3, yeah.
which he said looked like a bad 90s Kia, I think.
Is that what he said?
Yeah. And then he updated it a few weeks later with some things he found on the inside of the vehicle that he thought, okay, these are impressive, but the car's still got tons of problems elsewhere.